what's our vision? Where are we going? What is New Zealand? What do we want to become? And what's the future? You don't really sense you get it from this government yet. You certainly didn't get it from the last one. And we build up these things, and then the next government drags them down. We can't keep going through this 3-year cycle where we spend all this money on something and then lose it. All this money, lose it. All this money on this, lose it. Education system gets built here, knock it down here. Māori Health Authority, no Māori Health Authority. This is a recipe for economic and social disaster. It means we don't get anything done, but we're still spending the money. Nick Leggett is with Infrastructure New Zealand, and a man who's always been big picture and has a vision. And he joins us now. Nick, g'day. Good morning.
How are you, Duncan?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well.
What's I've heard you in, isn't it though? I've heard you in recent days, and I liked what I heard. I like what I heard from you, which is where are we heading? What are we doing? What are we following? And what's the end goal? To me, it sounded like here's someone that wants to get ahead, and he's got a vision. And what do you? I want to know what your thoughts are. Where we're at.
Well, it was interesting to listen to your last caller. I think New Zealand's got a bit of a problem, hasn't it, in the way it talks about issues, the way it talks about its challenges, and that will be an impediment to really coming down on some really long-term decisions about what sort of country we want to become. I've just come back from, the infrastructure sector did a tour of Ireland and Denmark. And, small countries, admittedly a lot closer to larger populations and bigger economies. But really it was an interesting time because we were able to look at some of those decisions that those countries had made to try, recognising that they needed to change. Now, if you look at Ireland, for instance, it was at the bottom of the OECD or near the bottom in the 60s and 70s, a long history and a pretty challenging history. And in the late 70s, it said, well, actually, our way out of this, our way to really lift our game is to invest in education. And that's what they did. They invested significantly in education. They're one of the most educated populations in the world now. They also opened the door to foreign direct investment, so international capital to improve their economy and to grow businesses in Ireland, and they've got a very low corporate tax rate, which has really encouraged a lot of those large multinational companies to put their head offices there, and they're also now the most productive country in the world, and it's not about saying, look, we can just be exactly like them, but what are the sort of the hallmarks of success that New Zealand needs? Like, we haven't even had a discussion about how big we want to become. Well, I think we've got challenges with our national identity. We've got tangata whenua, Indigenous people who have a voice and are entitled to a voice. We've got we've got Pākehā people, we've got new populations of migrant communities. How all that mixes together and what we're creating collectively, I don't think we've landed on that. And I think you can sit around with your arms folded and say it's got to be the government's job, but it's actually about getting together as a country and having clear-sighted, conversations based on some evidence, but also that is that vision piece. And I think we're pretty bad at it. This country's kind of lurched a bit, and that's worked for us. But it's like we've come through a phase and we've got to really get ourselves together. We've got to be more productive. We've got to ensure our public services work well. We've got to get the most out of our infrastructure. And that, by the way, means, yes, it means building a bit more, but it actually means maintaining and looking after what we've got. We've been appalling at that. And all the stuff adds up to a place that beautiful scenery. We've got unique cultures here that are found nowhere else in the world. We can do stuff, and we've shown we can do stuff, but we're not capturing it, I think, at the moment. And things seem to be on the go slow. And I think this government's been in office for a few months. I think that they are doing their best to try and turn the ship around. But actually, we've all got a part in that. and it's really, I think, thinking about what is it that defines New Zealand, what's our sort of specialness that nobody else has got, and then what are the things we need to invest in, what are the things we need to focus on that are going to take us there. How many people do we want in New Zealand by 2050?
That's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing, Nick. I spent the last hour talking about this exact point, which was the population debate, the immigration. If you were to launch a policy as a political party today that meant that 1 million people came here within the next 10 years, there'd be a big debate about it. There'd be a real reaction. We've been doing that for the last 10 years. I mean, it took us 180 years or whatever to get the first 4 million, and the next million came within 10, 11 years. Now, so we've got to think about this. What sort of country are we heading towards? How big do we want to be? We're not mature enough to have that debate yet. A race debate takes us nowhere. I despise race debates because it ends up with the Māori Party saying, we'll go off and have our own system. That's called South Africa. It's a stupid position from Arawiri Watiti, because what he's doing is so aggressive. He talks about Pākehā budgets and Pākehā this. The budget was for everybody. Their budget gave money to Māori, Pākehā, Asia. That's just a ridiculous comment. But it's aggressive, and people boil and stew over it,
Yeah, well, if I may be so bold on the platform, we are being driven to extremes by both sides of the debate. And Duncan, you and I have known each other long enough. You know that I come from more of the centre, and my concern is in this polarised world that we choose to pick one extreme and react to it, and we take the other extreme, and that's pulling sensible, moderate Kiwis away from a sort of a broad base, we're all in it together, to divide and rule. And we've got to get back to a place there that says, actually, there's something here for everybody. We've all got a part in it, and we respect different cultures. That's everybody's, and different perspectives, and we're able to listen. And I'm concerned. I mean, this is happening the world over, but for New Zealand, we've just got to be a little bit more, I think, engaged in what other people are saying and the points they're making. I've got no problem disagreeing. I think, having hard conversations, this is the thing. We're a bit passive, which, as a country, I think, if you compare us, say, to our cousins across the ditch, they're a bit tougher and they're a bit more direct, and I think that serves them well. We tend to be a little bit easier, but in recent times that hasn't quite been the case. And the sort of passive aggression, comes up. Let's have some direct conversations, but let's listen and work out how we can sort of chart a course together, because the thing that makes me concerned about New Zealand is this division thing.